Hey, yesterday was crazy. It sounded like Rod Rosenstein, who's the Deputy Attorney General, had either resigned, was about to be resigned, or was about to be canned. Great chaos inside the West Wing as they were trying to get the story together. So what do you think is going to happen Thursday when the president sits down with him and they have a heart-to-heart?
Well, I think he's done. He's not going to be the Deputy Attorney General after the election. The question is only now of timing. Whether or not the president wants to fire him, whether he would prefer to have him resign, whether he wants it to become an election issue, what happens in terms of succession, who replaces him, what impact it has on Mueller. But if you ask me who's going to be the Deputy Attorney General of the United States starting January of next year, it will not be Rod Rosenstein.
A couple of things. Number one, if he does leave, does it matter if he's quit or fired?
Sure. In
what way?
I think it becomes less of a political issue if he resigns. But even if he resigns, the Democrats will turn it into he resigned under protest. He was forced out. Look,
I just thought there might be a succession situation where the president could immediately put somebody in as opposed to confirming somebody in.
No, the president can appoint an interim, and then it's a confirming process. Look, the day he mentioned the 25th Amendment, he was out. That either shows an incredible ignorance of constitutional law, he's a Harvard student, so I can't attribute that to him, or a bias. The 25th Amendment was intended for a president who's shot, a president who's had a stroke, a president who's incapacitated, not a president who you disagree with or you think is creating havoc in the White House. That you have an election for, but you don't use the 25th Amendment promiscuously. And even mentioning the 25th Amendment, the New York Times stands by its story that it was not a joke, that it was a serious discussion. That's disqualifying.
Well, and that's something the 25th Amendment has been talked about. I mean, it seems like for weeks it's been in headlines. Before the New York Times story about Rosenstein, we had the anonymous op-ed, we had Woodward's book. Yesterday at the UN, Ambassador Nikki Haley and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo were asked about this. They said, no, this isn't something anybody ever talks about. Listen.
I'm not aware of any cabinet members that are even talking about that. It is completely and totally absurd.
I'll add no discussion with me about the 25th Amendment anywhere either. So you can now report that there are two senior leaders that have said that your question was ludicrous. I've been at the center of this administration, along with lots of other folks, from virtually day one. I've never heard anyone talk about it, whisper about it, joke about it in any way.
They sound believable. Do you buy it?
The 25th Amendment would constitute an unlawful coup, a coup d'etat, for the first time in American history. It would be unconstitutional, it would be illegal, and nobody should be talking about it. If this president remains healthy and capable of making decisions, no matter how much we disagree with them, the 25th Amendment is off the table.
All right. Well, we'll know on Thursday night, maybe, whether or not Rod keeps his job. Meanwhile, the big question is Thursday night we'll also know about the performances of the accuser and Judge Kavanaugh himself. They're both going to be before the committee. He was on last night with Martha McCallum, denying the accusations against him.
I've never sexually assaulted anyone, not in high school, not ever. I've always treated women with dignity and respect. I am looking for a fair process, a process where I can defend my integrity and clear my name.
He's looking for a fair process. Is he getting it?
Well, I don't know. It depends on how tough the lawyer is in his cross-examination of the accuser, and he must be, or she must be, tough. She can't just be allowed to say, well, I thought about it, then I didn't remember it, and then it took me 6 days to reconstruct my memory. A good cross-examining lawyer has to be gender-free, has to raise the same kinds of tough questions about repressed memory and how to reconstruct memory and exactly what she was told, by whom she was told it, who made suggestions to her, how did her memory improve over time? We know that biologically memories don't improve over time. They recede over time. How did her memory get so much better over 6 days of briefing with her lawyer? That is a subject of appropriate cross-examination, and any woman or man who is afraid to be tough in cross-examining her or cross-examining him should not have that
Right.
job.
And there's just a fear that men will look like bullies in this Me Too era. But I understand.
You
what
have
you're
a
saying.
woman doing it, but a
Right.
woman has to be just as tough on both of them.
Democrats are asking for the FBI to look into the Ramirez, that's the Yale story, and to look into the high school story.
Look,
let alone what Avenatti has. What would you do?
When you are up for a lifetime appointment, the FBI should be continuously updating its investigation. The minute an allegation comes out, the FBI should be on top of it. It doesn't need to start something anew. Look, I have 500 of my students have been appointed to positions of authority, so I've been interviewed by the FBI over and over and over again about my students. No matter how trivial the issue is, they will ask me about it. And
How long does that
that's
take, though?
Well, you know, you have so many FBI agents, it can be done in a relatively brief period of time. I think it can be done within 3 or 4 days.
You say Avenatti's hurting your profession. He's an exaggerator. He's making Daily Beast his lead story. Democrats to Avenatti. You're not helping. What do you think?
I don't think he helps the legal profession. I don't think he helps himself. He may help himself in the sense of getting more clients, but he has acted less than completely responsibly, not only in this instance, but in other instances as well.
All right. What do you think happens after the hearing on Thursday?
Well, I think it depends. If Judge Kavanaugh is as persuasive as he was on television the other day, and his wife, and she is cross-examined effectively, I think it'll move toward confirmation. On the other hand, hearings are unpredictable, and you just don't know what's going to happen. So stay tuned.
We're on the edge of our seats for it. Alan Dershowitz, thank you so much for coming in. The Case Against Impeaching Trump is the name of the book. Go out and check it out.
Thank you.
All right. Good luck with the traffic. You're on your own now.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Your
Thank
umbrella,
you.
too.